Day 5, or is it 6? I've lost complete track of time. It's been closing on a week since I passed the border into Area X. I've come separated from my group, and I have no clue how to get back to base camp. Whoever's watching this could be the last words that anybody hears from me. So I want to take time to talk about this book. What's up, guys? Talking about Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. Published in 2014. It did have a motion picture made after it. It was by Alex Garland. It starred Natalie Portman. It was a great sci-fi movie. I totally recommend it to anybody that likes cerebral style sci-fi. The movie is a bit of a mindfuck. The book, a bit of a mindfuck. Now, I want to say, though, with the movie and the book, two complete different stories. Definitely some similarities and whatnot, but man, vast differences. So, let's get into it. The story is essentially about the 12th expedition into a strange stretch of land known as Area X. The expedition consists of 4 women, a biologist, a psychologist, a surveyor, and an anthropologist. So what they're basically sent into Area X to observe and record everything that they can without becoming contaminated. Now, the story is narrated through the biologist, who has very personal reasons for wanting to go on the expedition. When the story begins, we're already beyond the border and into Area X, and the crew members are already experiencing the strangeness of this pristine landscape. So all their observations basically only bring forth more questions, and we're left wondering about the mystery of what happened to these other expeditions. All right, what do we got? We got high stakes paranoia, a landscape that is ever evolving, a tower tunnel, double trouble, a creepy crawler, cryptic writings on the walls, hypnotherapy, and a lighthouse that is sure to darken your day. All right, so now that we've scratched the surface, let's just get into the good, the bad, and the ugly and whatnot. So I would say we always start with the pace. The pace is very steady with this book. You have like a 200-page book. Usually when there's that low of a page count, the pace stays pretty steady. The one thing I want to mention, though, this was very, the con, personally, this is the one thing I didn't like about the book, was the flashback sequences. They will ruin the pace a little bit because you're in Area X, there's all this strange and just amazing stuff going on, and then you, boom, into a flashback. So it's kind of like you're cruising and then, bloop. I don't know how else to explain it. I just know that it sucked because my imagination was kicked in full bore, and then all of a sudden I had to go do this little wimpy flashback. I hate saying that. That's probably a bad way of putting it because I really dug this book. Just know that there are going to be some pacing issues. You're going to be on this fast-paced journey, and it's going to slow down a lot so you can kind of go backwards and get this little bit of information. That was another I guess, is these flashbacks. I didn't feel like they were used that great to push the story forward. I felt like they were only giving us little kernels, little breadcrumbs. I do understand this is a series, so maybe those breadcrumbs become way bigger things later on. I don't know. I just understand that this first read through, this was my biggest issue with the book, was the flashback sequences and how they slowed down the pace. That being said, that is not enough. I would not say that's enough for you not to go read this book. So next up is the tone, right? So, man, I really want to say this is a psychedelic thriller. I understand it's very psychological, though. I'm not even going to try to put this thing in a specific genre. It's obviously a sci-fi tale. The tone, though, I would say Jeff Vandermeer captures paranoia unlike any other. I literally, every time I turned the page, there was like a sense of impending doom, just like something that you're dreading looming over you in the back of your mind. It was so, it was so well done. Just, you know, thumbs up, Jeff Vandermeer. You made me paranoid. You know, when I went on walks through, and I would get close to like wooded areas, and I was just like, man, the book really got in my head, and I really appreciate it doing that because it's kind of what I look for when I go out looking for books, man. I want something that's gonna, colonize this pea brain of mine. The characters in the book are not very in depth. You don't even know their names. It's just like the biologist, the psychologist, the surveyor, the anthropologist. Like there's not much depth here, and it's kind of on that way on purpose. Like none of them know each other. The Southern Reach organization makes it that way before they go into Area X. So there's like an explanation for why we don't go in depth with these characters. The one you're going to get to know the most is going to be the biologist because that's who's narrating the story, and you'll get little flashbacks like I mentioned before that'll kind of give you these little kernels or little bits of insight into who the biologist is. That being said, I don't mind these characters not being in depth because I mean realistically, like this book was just way more about the atmosphere than it was about the characters. At least it was to me. This was probably the most atmospheric book I've ever read. I didn't write this. Sorry, Jeff Vandermeer. I'm trying to steal your thunder. I guess I also want to point something out, like with the movie Annihilation, man, that was a movie that I had to watch like multiple times. Maybe I didn't have to, but I wanted to because I kept finding more and more stuff that I missed. There was like more and more Easter egg-ish kind of stuff going on, and I kind of feel that same feeling with this book. Now, I've never reread a book in my life, and if I was going to start, I will start with the Broken Empire trilogy, but this book actually makes me want to put that on the reread list because I feel like the more you read this, the more like little things you're gonna like pick out and realize that you missed the first little trip through. So I'm just very impressed with this book. It's I'm not trying to sell you on this like being the most amazing piece of literature ever written. I'm just saying this thing will make you think in ways that you probably haven't yet. It's a lot of fun. It'll be an uncomfortable journey, but it's worth it. So I enjoyed the book. My one thing I'm here trying to kind of struggle with is this for slow readers and struggling readers or new beginning readers? I think it could be. I think it could also hang up a lot of people. It's one of those, it just has a lot to offer. It's not particularly like hard to read as far as like the wording. It's not like overly descriptive or this or that or using these gigantic big words. I mean, it does have some big words, but it's not like very intimidating. It's just the concepts and the stuff that's happening in here is just out there, and it's awesome. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I like this book. This is one of the reasons why I think I'm going to try to get into this trilogy and also other works by the author. Jeff Vandermeer's kind of got me like stoked about reading his stuff. So I want to say this. If you're a struggling reader and you have an active imagination, you have a good chance of having a lot of fun with this book. If you're a struggling reader and you have a low, not a very active imagination, maybe tread lightly. If you're a slow reader, I don't think anything about being a slow reader will hang you up with this book. If you're new, I might say read a couple other things before tackling this bad boy. But all this stuff is just my opinions, guys. I will never tell you not to read a book. By all means, challenge yourself. I think if you're into sci-fi and crazy stuff, this is a great book. It's going to be a challenge for some, but I feel like it'll be rewarding for all. I'm very, very excited about this and continuing it. I want to know more about Area X. At the end of this book, I have to say, much like the people in the expeditions, I'm just kind of left with more questions than answers, but I'm okay with that. Like I said, this is a very strange book. It's got some cool concepts in there that I think the other books just don't have. So, by all means, give it a check. And Jeff Vandermeer, I salute you. You're one weird dude, and I can appreciate that. Thanks for watching, guys. Later.